Everything changed for the New York Giants in a matter of seconds. I mean, think about it. After consecutive, agonizing campaigns ending in dead last, the front office stared into the abyss and realized something had to give. The status quo wasn't just failing, it was a guaranteed path to absolute oblivion in this league. So, the organization didn't just decide to rebuild, they decided to panic. They decided to write massive checks fueled by pure, unadulterated desperation. Now, this explainer, it isn't just about football. We are talking about a roster filled with men who are fighting for their actual financial lives in a high-stakes, utterly ruthless environment. So, buckle up, welcome to the 2026 season.
So, we have to ask, what is the true price of a winning season? It's not just about the physical toll on the body, though that's brutal enough. It is about the immense, suffocating pressure of millions of dollars dangling just out of reach, completely dependent on you outperforming the man standing right next to you in your own locker room. As you'll see, in 2026, the Giants have constructed a roster where almost every single player essentially has a bounty on their own head.
$36 million. I want you to keep that massive number locked in your head because it is the cornerstone of the incredible tension we are about to unravel today. But before we get into the grueling, hyper-specific details of these contracts, I want to officially welcome you to NFL Nexus. If you want more premium, deep-dive docu-thrillers like this explainer, you need to subscribe to the channel right now. Seriously, hit that like button, comment your thoughts down below as we go, and support the channel directly by becoming a channel member today. We need hardcore fans like you to keep this going.
Section 1. The Harbaugh Gamble. The stakes of a new regime.
Now, let's establish the macro stakes here. The 2026 season brings a completely new regime to New York. The Giants have pushed all of their chips to the absolute center of the table and brought in head coach John Harbaugh to take the reins. And look, John Harbaugh brings an undeniable championship pedigree. We are talking about a man with an incredibly impressive 193 and 124 record over 18 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens. He's got that Super Bowl 47 ring. The man is all about winning. But the stark reality is, he is stepping into an absolute pressure cooker. He inherits a roster full of players whose contracts are heavily, inextricably tied to performance metrics. To win, Harbaugh has to manage a fractured locker room where every single snap is a literal fight for financial survival.
Section 2. The $36 million risk. A cap space domino effect. Okay, let's dive into this, because to truly understand the desperation breathing down the neck of this roster, we have to look at the single most controversial move of the entire Giants offseason. ESPN's Seth Walder explicitly called the signing of linebacker Tremaine Edmunds, quote, an overpay at 3 years, $36 million, end quote. I want you to really linger on that word for a second. Overpay. $36 million is a tremendous, franchise-altering amount of bag for just one player. And while some folks out there might argue it's just the standard cost of doing business, you have to remember we are in a hard salary-capped league. It creates a massive, unavoidable domino effect. When you lock up that much money in one single linebacker, it means the franchise suddenly has vastly less guaranteed money to play with for everyone else.
And they didn't just stop with Edmunds. They went out and brought in defensive tackle DJ Reader to try and fill the massive, gaping hole left by Dexter Lawrence. They aggressively acquired cornerback Greg Newsome II. They re-signed right tackle Jermaine Illuminor for offensive line consistency. But here's the catch. Every single dollar spent on these guarantees turns the remaining cap space into a desperate zero-sum game. For the rest of the roster, the base salaries are shockingly low, and the real, life-changing money is locked behind brutal, unforgiving performance incentives.
Section 3. The defensive bounties. The cost of a pass rush.
Let's shift our focus over to the defense. This is where the tension is the absolute thickest. This is where millions of dollars are locked away in a vault, and the only possible combination to open it is grueling, elite-level statistical production. $1.8 million. That is the staggering, eye-watering bounty hanging in the balance right now for star outside linebacker Brian Burns. Keep in mind, he is coming off a monster 2025 season where he recorded 16.5 sacks and earned his first career second-team All-Pro selection. But the Giants, they're making him prove it all over again.
To see a single dime of that $1.8 million, Burns must methodically, perfectly achieve 3 exact steps. Step 1, he must record 12.5 sacks. Step 2, he must secure first-team All-Pro honors. Step 3, he must make the Pro Bowl. Let's really put that into perspective for a second. Before last year, Burns had only hit that 12.5 sack mark twice in his entire career. He will absolutely draw immense double-team attention from opposing offenses this year. He has to pray that teammates like Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, and rookie Arvell Reese force a genuine pick-your-poison scenario for the offensive line, or he simply won't get paid.
Then we have the high-priced acquisitions from previous years who are downright desperate to earn back the front office's trust. Take Paulson Adebo. He previously signed a massive 3-year, $54 million contract, but last year, battling a sprained MCL, he produced a dismal 1 single interception and only 8 pass breakups. He is under incredibly heavy scrutiny. And Javon Holland? He signed a 3-year, $45.3 million deal to replace Xavier McKinney, and frankly, he also hasn't found his footing yet. Both of these men are coming off massive, lucrative base deals, Adebo at $54 million and Holland of $45.3 million. Yet this year, their margin for error is incredibly, frighteningly tiny. They have $500,000 to $1 million in incentives directly tied to securing Pro Bowl and first-team All-NFL honors. Nothing less will do.
And the pressure isn't just weighing on the veterans, it's heavily baked into the positional battles. Take a look at the cornerback room. This is a terrifying zero-sum game between Greg Newsome II and Deonte Banks, with rookie Colton Hood just waiting in the wings to steal their jobs.
Newsome is currently on a 1-year, $8 million deal, but it has up to $2 million in hidden, heavily guarded incentives. The percentages here are absolutely cutthroat. If he hits 60% of the defensive snaps, he gets $300,000. But to max out at that $1 million mark, he has to hit 90% of the defensive snaps. Let that sink in. That means he cannot just be a situational or rotational player. He must completely take the starting job outright and forcefully relegate incredibly talented players like Deonte Banks to the bench. His financial gain requires another man's complete professional loss.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ruthless, unsentimental nature of the football business. Consider linebacker Micah McFadden. In 2024, the man led the entire team with 107 combined tackles. He was gearing up for a massive, life-changing contract year. But in the 2025 season opener, he suffered a devastating foot injury. And while he was rehabbing, fighting his way back, the Giants simply moved on. They signed Tremaine Edmonds and they drafted Arvell Reese.
Now, because of that, McFadden faces an incredibly steep, almost vertical financial mountain to cash out his $2 million incentive package. Listen to how grueling this is. He needs to hit 35% of the snaps just to get $250,000. Then he has to reach 40% for another $250,000. Then he gets $375,000 for every 10% increase, 50%, 60%, all the way up to grabbing another $375,000 at 75% of the snaps. Getting a guy who is now essentially a depth piece to 75% of the defensive snaps is an incredibly tall order. Cold logic dictates he will struggle to see even a fraction of this money.
The long odds extend all the way down to the fringe defensive players as well. Chauncey Golston logged a career-high 790 snaps in Dallas back in 2024. But last year in New York, nagging neck and ankle injuries caused a drastic, catastrophic drop to a paltry 173 snaps. Now, in a very crowded defensive line, he needs somewhere between 6 and 10 sacks just to earn his $500,000 maximum. And look at Roy Robertson-Harris, recovering from a devastating torn Achilles. He is hard-pressed to reach 45% of the defensive snaps just to earn his $250,000 incentive.
Section 4. The offensive chase. The price of production.
But hey, if you think the defense is tense, pivot with me over to the offense. On this side of the ball, targets, passing downs, and snap shares are treated like literal physical gold. The desperation begins at the single most important position in football. This is Jameis Winston's dilemma. The former #1 overall pick and Heisman Trophy winner is surviving on a mere $1.3 million guarantee this season. Think about that. The only way he gets on the field is if starter Jaxson Dart is sidelined. Winston is quite literally forced to sit on the bench and watch millions of dollars sit just out of his reach.
Just listen to the absolute impossibility of Winston cashing his performance checks. To get $1 million, he needs a 70% offensive snap share. To get another $1 million in performance bonuses, he needs to hit every single one of these hyper-specific benchmarks: a 92.5 passer rating, a 65% completion rate, 15 passing touchdowns, 2,200 passing yards, and he must register at least 224 passing attempts to even qualify for it. Oh, and he gets another $500,000 if he somehow posts a 55% snap rate and the team actually goes on to win a playoff game. It is a near impossible statistical gauntlet designed to make sure a backup never gets paid. Then there is tight end Isaiah Likely. He is reuniting with his old coach John Harbaugh and comes in with a $1.35 million guarantee. But there is extreme pressure building here, too, because despite his immense, undeniable talent, showing flashes alongside Mark Andrews in Baltimore, likely has never actually operated as the true tight end one for a full, grueling 17-game season.
And his bank account is directly mathematically correlated to proving he can be an alpha in this league. Let's take a minute and walk through this exact correlation tier by agonizing tier. If he hits 60 receptions, he gets $250,000. If he pushes to 70 catches, that gets him $500,000. 80 receptions, that triggers $750,000. His yardage tiers begin at 650 yards and peak all the way at 850 yards. Touchdowns, he needs 6, then 8, then 10 scores for a maximum of $750,000. And just to add another layer to the pressure cooker, there is a $150,000 kicker if he plays 60% of the snaps and the Giants miraculously clinch a playoff berth. Every single route this man runs is worth thousands of dollars.
And he will be fighting for those targets in a wide receiver room that has turned into an absolute multi-million-dollar dogfight. Darnell Mooney and Calvin Alston III are both on heavily incentivized prove-it deals. With Malik Neighbors' return from a 2025 ACL injury still very unclear, the target share at the beginning of the campaign is wide open. But keep in mind, Mooney is coming off a career-worst 15.8% drop rate with Atlanta in 2025. He literally has everything to prove.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer volume of checkpoints. Mooney earns $250,000 just for playing 75% of the snaps. But the real life-altering money is quite literally in his hands. 35 catches gets him $375,000. 45 catches gets him $750,000. 55 for $1.25 million. 65 for $1.75 million. And 75 catches for a grand total of $2.5 million. And it doesn't stop there. The exact same exhausting breakdown applies to his yardage, starting at 450 yards and peaking at 1,050 yards. Touchdowns go from $375,000 for 3 all the way up to $1.75 million for 9. He will be fighting for every single ball thrown his way like his life depends on it.
And right beside him is Calvin Austin III, facing a staggering 7-tier structure of his own. Do not rush past these numbers. I want you to feel the true weight of this climb. His snaps go from 45% for $150,000, escalating tier by tier, up to 90% for $1 million. His catches, starting at 35 for $150,000, then 45, then 55, all the way up to 100 catches for $1 million. His yards climb from 400 to 1,000 in exact 100-yard increments. Considering Austin only totaled 84 receptions in 48 career games with the Steelers, maxing these out requires a monumental, career-defining leap.
Protecting all of these skill players are the big guys up front, and they have their own massive financial hurdles. Left tackle Andrew Thomas is chasing his first full healthy season since 2022 after battling a brutal Lisfranc fracture and a nagging hamstring injury. He has $500,000 on the line for Pro Bowl and All-Pro honors, but he must play a full, flawless season to compete with the likes of Garrett Bowles, Tristan Wirfs, and Trent Williams. And then there's fullback Patrick Ricard, who needs 30 to 40% of the offensive snaps to collect up to $450,000. The catch? Last year, he was only on the field for 27% of the plays.
Section 5. The Roster Fringe Fights. Surviving the Cut.
Finally, let's bring the focus down to the absolute bottom of the depth chart. If the starters are fighting for millions, the fringe players are fighting for their sheer NFL survival. At running back, veteran Devin Singletary took a literal pay cut just to stay with the team. To hit his incentives, which demand somewhere between 1,100 and 1,300 scrimmage yards and snap tiers between 56 and 66% for $1 million, he has an incredibly steep uphill battle. The dark reality is, for Singletary to get paid his worth, someone like Tyrone Tracy Jr. or Cam Scotabo likely has to get hurt or completely benched.
And look at the path for linebacker Zaire Barnes. First off, he just has to survive training camp and make the 53-man roster. If he miraculously does, he needs 25% of the snaps for $100,000, 35% for $200,000, 45% for $400,000. But last year, his snap rate was below 15%. With Reese, Edmonds, and McFadden all in front of him, the climb for this fringe player is absolutely brutal.
Section 6. The ultimate price of 2026. Championship or bust.
Now, let's zoom out from the micro details of these specific contracts to the macro picture of the entire franchise. John Harbaugh's first year in New York hinges entirely on whether these men hit these specific numbers. This is the ultimate zero-sum game of professional football. Think about it. There's exactly 100% of offensive snaps and 100% of defensive snaps available in a given season. No more. When one man stays on the field to earn generational wealth, another man is forcefully taking a financial loss on the sideline. Every single down played is a financial transaction.
So the crucial point is this. These internal cutthroat financial battles will ultimately dictate the success or failure of the entire franchise. If Mooney gets his 75 catches, if Burns gets his 12.5 sacks, if Newsome plays 90% of the snaps at an elite level, the Giants likely make the playoffs. If they fall short, the front office's massive, desperate gamble fails completely, and it is just another lost season in New York.
Which leads us to the ultimate question. When a franchise writes massive checks fueled purely by desperation, have they bought a championship? Or have they just bought a deeply divided locker room where every single player is looking out for their own wallet?
That is the true price of the 2026 season. If you want to continue following the gripping, unvarnished reality of the NFL business, you need to subscribe to the NFL Nexus channel right now. Hit the like button on this explainer. Comment your thoughts below on whether you think the Giants' massive gamble will actually pay off. And please support us to fund more premium docu-thrillers by becoming a channel member today. We can't do this without you. See you on the gridiron.